Welcome to the Mostly Pod Hour Night. Mostly, I am a Graveyard, joined by my co-host Salem.
Hello.
This is episode 76 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. I Saw Mommy Getting Killed by Santa Claus. What happens? The movie gets cut as half of another movie. Will it drive us crazy? Will we look forward to Garbage Day? Or join us as this is part one of Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise as we punish ourselves with hot garbage. So we'll be splitting up the 6 movies of Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise into 2 parts. So we're doing parts 1, 2, and 3 for this episode. And we'll say right now, part 2 is essentially part 1 and a half. Because, you know, I'm sure we'll get into that, how it's just pretty much pulls a basket case on us for part 2. And part 3 was Better Watch Out. And I know Salem's excited for number 4, which alternative title is Bugs. So
Well, I also know that Clint Howard is in 4 and 5.
Yes, he is.
So that's gonna make it fantastic, I'm sure.
Well, I know he's done great things like, Ice Cream Man. But let's get into this. So we'll start off with Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 that came out in 1984. And, I always find it interesting is the controversy that was apparently around this movie when it came out. Because it was about a guy dressing as Santa Claus killing people. And anyone who listened to our episodes last year know that wasn't the first movie to do that. I believe Christmas Evil was 1980, was it not?
Yeah, it was definitely before this. And I'm sure they were upset about that one as well.
I'm sure they were. But, I don't think the poster, would say, hey, children, come watch this movie. It's literally a guy climbing out of the chimney with an axe in his hand. So why people would think we should take our kids to see this, I don't know. But yeah, I mean,
the same reason you bring a baby in the theater to watch Thanksgiving.
Oh, that was awful. That was awful.
I don't know why people do the things that they do, but they do.
Yeah. But without further ado, let's get into this. I said these movies don't have very much substance, if you will. So we'll do our probably shorter recaps of these movies. But
if you want me to jump in at any time, that's fine, because part 2 is like I literally don't even have to do half of it.
Well,
so
yes,
you want me to help, or maybe I'll do the third one.
Yeah, let's do that because they were.
I'll do both of them. How about
there? You go. Yeah, these not good movies. Let's just go with that. I know these are first time watches for Salem for every single one. And clearly I tried purging my memory from these movies, but realized I had seen most of these already. So the recap of the first Silent Night, Deadly Night starts off in 1971 with a family, driving in their station wagon to go see Grandpa. Guys, kids reading, I think he's 5. And reading, The Night Before Christmas, because I'm sure he was able to read that book at 5.
You can read in kindergarten.
Yeah. Baby, just in mom's lap, as he did in the 80s, or 70s here.
71, yeah. I don't even know if they had car seats in 71.
And the father's contribution to this is he just gave lovingly glances at the mother for most of his scenes. They go, it's Billy and a younger brother, Ricky. They're driving to see Grandpa, who is seeming catatonic. And the kid's like, hey, remember Grandpa, we're going to leave our 5-year-old kid by himself in a mental hospital by his catatonic grandpa, who then scares the living crap out of him by saying that Santa punishes the bad. And if you better watch out, he'll get you if you haven't been good. And then, I think mixed into that somewhere is a guy dressed as Santa robbing a convenience store and just he kills the clerk because he also pulls a gun out, shoots him dead for $33?
$31.
$31. I get that's $2 too much. Yeah, it's like, oh, this wasn't worth it. Yeah, you just flat killed someone for $31. But he seems okay with it. And, drives away in essentially a red car. Anyway, the family comes back, and yes, they're having conversations about Santa, whether, if, his mom was ever good. She's like, oh, it was bad sometimes. Oh, Santa didn't punish you. And they're like, okay. And, Grandpa spoke to us. No, he didn't. But he did. They see the same guy who killed the convenience store clerk on the side of the road, and his car has car troubles, seemingly. Parents see him pull a gun. They back away. He shoots into the car, kills the dad, and the little boy just gets the hell out of there as fast as he can by himself, and then kind of just watches the scene play out as the dad falls on the pavement dead. The mom is dragged out, top ripped open. She puts up a struggle and her throat is slit. And the guy dressed as Santa is, looking for the kid, and fade to what, 5 years later? 3 years later.
Yeah, long enough for him to grow a mullet.
Yes. I think it's 74 at this point in time. So now him and his brother are in an orphanage run by I guess I'd say maybe over the top Catholic Mother Superior.
No, that's just regular. In 1974, that's a regular Catholic nun.
Yeah. Billy grown up a little bit, now about 8, is drawing pictures, and he clearly is traumatized by what happened. He clearly remembers it and is afraid of Santa Claus. Makes perfect sense. He saw Santa Claus kill his family. And the priest nuns are like, maybe he does remember something. And the Mother Superior like, no, I have ways to fix it. We'll force him to like Santa. Oh, look, he's having a nightmare about it. Let's tie him up to the bed. You'll see my method work just fine. Just fine.
Yeah, tie the child up to make sure they can't move, beat them whenever they don't do what you want them to do. That's
how you get rid of trauma. Beat it out of them.
Yeah.
At some point, Billy sees people having sex. He gets in trouble for that, and beat, of course. And finally, Santa does come, and he has to sit on Santa's lap, and then being traumatized even more, and start screaming and acting out, rightfully so. And okay, it's clearly he's not okay, and he's been naughty, so he goes hides in the corner. Boom, 10 years later, 1984. Now he's getting a job from one of the nuns that are there. And it's like, talking about a child wants a job at this Ira's toy store. I don't want a kid, I want a man. And here comes Billy, all beef caked up at 18.
Oh yeah, the way that this guy looks at him,
he wants him.
It's like, I don't think he just wants you for your strength to carry boxes, dude. I think there's something else you need to watch out for.
Yes, watch out for bad touch toy store owner. So anyway, Billy is, like I said, he's big, muscular. He kind of works stocking. His boss is probably, 30 maybe, if that.
The boss?
And just in the back room.
In the back room, yeah.
Yeah. But just imagine your typical tough guy that isn't really tough. That would have cigarettes in his sleeve. And Billy trying his best just to be a good person. He doesn't want to drink on the job, doesn't want anything like that. He's been there for a number of months. And he has, dreams of his fellow employee there. And then he realizes, oh wait, Christmas is coming up. And oh man, woman comes, who are you get to play Santa? I know just the guy. And they dress up Billy as Santa Claus, which is just going to cure the trauma even more. And so they're like, yeah, he'll do. And then we kind of go into him, so there's a montage, a 80s TV show montage where they'd just be laughing at each other and just stare at each other and laugh, that type of thing. Anyway, he's dressed up as Santa. A little girl doesn't want to talk to him, and he kind of threatens her And then everyone's like, oh, look, he's good with kids. The kids are crying. That's good. And the guy just kind of just dreamingly stares at Billy as he's Santa. Yeah, and then they, store goes through, and it's the end of the night, so all 6 employees have a company Christmas party. We all start drinking. And the handsy stockroom manager takes a woman back, tries to seduce her, and then starts turning into bad things. Billy sees this, and he has flashbacks to his mother getting assaulted in kind of the same way by that deranged Santa Claus. And, well, he snaps. He has then Michael Myers strength because he's able to wrap Christmas tree lights around the guy's neck and then lift him up only by the lights.
But this is crazy murderer strength. This is a known thing.
Yeah. And kills him. It's like, oh, punish. So like, oh, and then woman's like, oh, you're crazy. And then he proceeds to just eviscerate her.
With a box cutter.
With a box cutter, yes. And the toy store owner who drunk, to me, sounded like Bruce Campbell at that point in time. He goes, I think I heard something in the back. Goes out there and bam, claw hammer to the head. He's dead. I don't know what she was. The owner's wife, just another cashier.
I honestly don't know.
I don't know either. But anyway, I should mention before all this happened is the nun had called to see what he's doing. Like, oh, he's dressed as Santa. Oh shit, this is not good. So anyway, yeah, kind of a little cat and mouse to the toy store, and then woman's trying to escape, and then Billy just shoots her with a bow and arrow, killing her dead, and then he just leaves because he has more things to punish. Then the nun walks in, like, looks into the store. Oh shit, she's dead. Yeah, he's a goner. We gotta find him before he kills again, because clearly the beatings didn't work to fix his trauma. Surprise, surprise.
Well, they did work for 10 years. So
yeah.
There's that.
That's true. And then we cut to people making out on a pool table and getting undressed, and there's a little girl there. Babies. I don't know if they even said babysitter, sister. I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
It's a baby. She's a babysitter.
Babysitter. Yeah. So she's getting on. She's like, oh, I gotta let the cat inside, and she's topless. And what she do? She puts shorts on.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. Here's the part that confused the shit out of me. When the girl is coming downstairs, she's worried about putting her top on, but she leaves her pants off.
Yes.
Now, then she goes, oh, I got to bring the cat in. Then she puts pants on, but leaves her top off.
Yes.
What are you, what are you smoking, Linnea Quigley? Like, you're on drugs.
I mean, she is a staple of nude scenes in 80s horror movies, let's face it. They probably just need some reason for her to continue to be topless, is my guess.
I guess so.
So anyway, using the super murderer psychic abilities that Billy now has, is able to know this is going on. So yeah, he comes in there and he impales Quigley onto some horns. And then the boyfriend.
I'm not sure how the logistics of that work out.
They wouldn't. Those things are brittle as hell.
Well, they're brittle as hell, but also, like, the horns don't stick out that far to where you'd be able to hang her over the deer's head.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't stick forward that much.
Correct.
I was, like, staring at this, like, that wouldn't work. I don't know why did they bother showing a regular, like, head? They could have just shown antlers on the wall. That would have been better. Yes.
Anyway, the boyfriend tries to, fight Billy a little bit. He just gets some good stuff in there, and then he just throws the boyfriend through the window, and he just like gets shards of glass through him, right?
Yeah, there's like one big giant shard sticking out of his stomach that's like the size of his whole body.
That wasn't there when we saw him initially. Then eventually it was there.
It wasn't a shard that big in the entire window. So
no.
It's magical.
And then, he's dressed as Santa, and the little girl wakes up. Are you Santa? Yeah. Have you been naughty or have you been nice? I've been good. And then gives her the box cutter.
the
Christmas.
bloody box cutter that he already used to gut a woman with earlier that evening.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, kid.
Yep. So anyway, then he sees some bullies steal sleds, and as they're taking the sleds and sliding away, he just comes out and then decapitates. Boom, done, dead.
Yeah, he only decapitates the one guy and then leaves the rest of them alone for some reason. I think whoever wrote the screenplay just wanted that scene in there. They just didn't bother finishing it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, and then that's it. That's all you get.
Yeah. I believe we see, at some point, they know that Santa Claus on loose, and cops follow a guy climbing into a window dressed as Santa. It's like, oh, it's my dad. And they almost shot him to death.
Well, yeah, not only that, but they run into someone's house.
Yes.
And the wife's on the couch going, excuse me. What are you doing?
Got stuff to do.
Right, yeah, can't do that, police.
Yeah. And then so there is another scene where they mistake him as Billy. I think it's a priest dressed up as Santa at the orphanage.
Well, yeah, because they basically use their magic police powers to figure out that he's going to go back to the orphanage next, even though he was just murdering random strangers. Now at this point, he's going to go back to the orphanage. Of course he.
Right, of course, to go get Mother Superior.
Yeah. So they send trigger happy Johnny the cop to the orphanage and go, hey, there's a guy that dressed as Santa that's killing kids. So if you see Santa, shoot him on sight. Okay. So he sees Santa, so he shoots him on sight, and it happens to be the priest that was dressed as Santa.
Yeah. So anyway, Billy, amazingly enough, makes his way back to the orphanage to kill Mother Superior. And, well, just as he's about to, he gets shot a few times and dies. As a year now, safe now, Santa Claus is done. And, then we see his brother Ricky telling Mother Superior, naughty. End of movie.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So I easily know this is not the first time I've seen this movie. Have I seen it more than twice now? Not entirely certain. I might not have. This might have been one of those franchises that I did a one and done and never came back until this. Now, funny enough, I was trying to watch this, and it was Silent Night, Bloody Night that came out and said, I'm like, wow, this looks like shit. And no, that was a 70s one that we're going to have to get to at some point in time. Like I said, the first one is, I think a typical slasher that takes place on Christmas, right? So we had Halloween. This is just kind of living up, on riding the coattails of Halloween and being popular, and then doing this instead. And so we watched some movies that were, like Christmas Evil last year, that was about a killer Santa Claus, that weren't as good, I'd say, as the first one, at least. I said this is it's not quite a classic, but it is a classic. It's not as well known as Black Christmas easily. What were your first thoughts on this?
It's interesting. It tries to do some different stuff from some of the other movies that were happening at the time. I think it mostly misses with with that. But it's got some interesting stuff to it. It's not complete garbage. It's not a good movie.
No,
by any means. But it's not torture to watch it at least one time. It's all right. There's enough going on to where you can get through it once. Again, would I want to watch it a second time? No. I don't think I need to. There's not much. There's not much there that I need to see. And again, if you're planning on watching the second one, don't bother watching the first one, because the second one, they literally recap everything that happens in the first movie. So don't bother.
Yes.
Unless you really want to get the whole package.
Yeah. Go on to your highlights first, if you have it.
I do. Yeah. Now, the one thing that I thought was really interesting about this is we get a lot of background.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. I mean, there is a full 45 minutes of background before we even start the toy scene. So that's like basically like modern day, like the start of him, turning into the killer, right? So like before that point, there's 45 minutes of backstory. We see his parents, we see him going to visit grandpa, his parents dying, his horrible experience in the orphanage, with the nuns and all this stuff. Like all of that shit was 45 minutes of an hour and a half long.
Yes.
So half of the movie is background leading up to him. So I mean that's interesting. Right, that never happens. I mean, usually they'll give you bits and pieces of it in between kills, but they don't wait that long to start. Usually, for
a slasher, generally not.
Yeah, I mean, we did get some kills right out of the gate, right? Like the other Santa Claus killed mom and dad right away, and the guy in the gas station, right? But then, like, there's literally 45 minutes of just backstory leading up to his, like, psychotic break, which is, again, do we know why he did it? Oh, yes. Obviously. Like, there's no question as to why he did it or what happened. We have the entire story. We don't need any more information. And that was interesting. I also thought it was interesting that it was basically all from his perspective.
Yeah.
Like most of that we see from like his side. We understand his trauma because we're literally living it right next to it, right?
Right.
It does change later in the movie to be like a traditional stalker, slasher movie. But up until that point, even to the point where he starts murdering people, it's really we see everything from his side. It doesn't switch to he's the antagonist and then we see the cops and everything being involved until way later in the movie, which feels odd because we like barely have a chance to connect with the cops, as good guys, because this is we literally been following Billy this whole movie.
Right.
And all of a sudden now we get the cops in like the last 20 minutes. You're like, yeah, I don't care about these characters. I never saw them at all. And the other thing that I did like is that the toy store had name brand toys in it.
It did.
I was like, wow. I'm like, because you don't see that stuff nowadays. It's all like fake stuff. But no, there was like the Smurfs and Barbie and like
Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, Little Tykes and all this stuff, like name brand stuff just sitting on the shelves. I was like, wow. He even opened up and dumped out a G.I. Joe vehicle.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Especially for 1984. It was like blowing my mind because I was a kid. I knew all those toys. So
right.
That was crazy seeing the name brand toys just in the toy store. That was pretty fun because nowadays it's always some whatever generic stand-in. Like what was Jingle All the Way, Turbo Man?
Yes,
some like generic ass thing they just make up. That's what movies are nowadays. They just make up something stupid. But this movie actually had real toys, which is cool. So
yeah.
But you can go for your high points.
No, I mean, I definitely agree. It wasn't the, like if the worst, child therapist psychiatrist in the world, Dr. Loomis, had him as a case, he had more of a case than to lock him up for longer than I'd say Michael Myers. We don't really understand the trauma of Michael Myers. He's just like, oh, he just killed someone one day. But no, like you said, Billy's like, yeah, he's fucked up, and we know exactly why he's fucked up.
Like we get every step of that process. It's not even like exposition from somebody else. No, we see it with our own eyes. What happened and why he's like this. No one's surprised that this happens.
No, and that's, as you said, for a slasher film, that kind of lore just doesn't generally exist because we follow the protagonist more. We follow the victim side of things more than anything else. So yeah, I mean, that is definitely unique, is that you're right, it's from his perspective, which is rare. I don't know of many that are that way that I can think off the top of my head.
Right. And like I said, the last part, like, the last act is the traditional,
mm-hmm.
He's an antagonist. We don't know what he's doing. He just pops up to kill people. Like, it does that in the last act, which is odd because the rest of the movie is not that.
Right.
It's just weird.
I would say that, the for this being let's face it, a really low ass budget movie that probably spent all their money on the product placement, or they just shot in a toy store and didn't tell them.
I'm pretty sure they just shot in a toy store because it looks like just an old timey toy store.
Right. It's like a KB Toys back in the day.
Right.
And I think the effects were good. Were they over the top kills? No, they weren't. But I think everything was done practically and looked good practically. They didn't really, did it seem like on the unrealistic horns, but she seemed like Linnea Quigley got impaled on them. The guy just getting this clean swipe of the head. And I think that was good. I think the guy played a good deranged person. Like I said, we don't really see his derangement until later on. And yeah, I mean, this is definitely a Christmas movie, right? We discuss movies sometimes like, okay, is it really Christmas horror, or is it just like someone had a piece of Christmas lights hanging a strand up, or some garland somewhere, like the
dorm that dripped blood. Yes, it was like, there's Christmas lights up in the cafeteria. That was it. It was the only Christmassy part of it.
Right, and so I think this fits into a Christmas horror, and I think this would have been besides Black Christmas, this would have been like the tentpole of how to do a holiday themed horror movie. Unfortunately, the series continued, and it was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. we're done. I think this killed kind of the holiday themed horror movies, with like especially the second one. I'll go into my low points. Low points clearly is the toy store owner.
Oh, you don't like Ira?
No, not like Ira. And you're listening to two men that were raised Catholic. The Mother Superior, let's face it, she's the worst. She is, I think, has a lot of the blame on her shoulders for Billy turning out the way he is.
Well, I mean, that's the great Catholic tradition, is don't show any emotions.
Yeah.
Like, hide them all until they break you. That's the traditional thing.
Right. And like, knowing full well that he's terrified of Santa Claus, don't make him say that. Fuck you. Like, that is horrible. Like, you deserve Mother Superior to get killed in this movie, which didn't happen. But you deserve anything Billy was going to give to you, because you made him the way he is. Is the guy in the beginning partly blame? Yes, absolutely. But like, he's 5 years old. He could have played it off or done some help instead of praying the trauma away. I'm sorry. And like, I think that's supposed to be his little brother in the bunk bed with him. Like,
no, it's not.
No? Okay.
No, Ricky, they do show Ricky, and he's barely in it.
Right.
But it's not, because Ricky was a brown-haired kid, and the kid that was in the top bunk was a blonde kid.
Well, I mean, Billy went from dark hair to blonde, so.
I mean, kids' hairs changes differently. Yeah. Like, my hair was blonde when I was a kid.
I know, yeah. Like I said, we talked about, Linnea Quigley's like, I'm going to put on my top for the girl coming down, leave my pants off, but I have to let the cat in, open the door, and just have no top on. That's how you let animals in. Just stand out there with the door open, half naked.
Apparently.
All right. So, and the music they're listening to while making out was atrocious.
Oh, my God. Yes, it was.
Yeah. That's why I got what you got.
Yeah, I also had the music written down, because it's like just the most, it's like, okay, 80s music could, there was some 80s music that was just really bad. The generic rocky, soft rocky garbage. And this is like generic version of generic soft rocky garbage. It's like, it was terrible. And I think it was the same guy that made like every terrible song in the movie. They kept playing different terrible songs. Yeah, very, very bad. But yeah, like you said, the old school Catholics are not fun for anybody involved. But yeah, I would say the child acting, because again, there's a lot of child acting that they hinge off of.
Yes.
And it's not good.
No.
again, like I said, the first 45 minutes of the movie is child acting. Yeah, I mean, there's some of them that are passable, but some of them that are just horrifically bad. And it does affect you after a while. It's not great. And yeah, I mean, and poor Billy, man. I mean, obvious mental illness. I mean,
Yes.
anyone who knows what happened to that poor kid knows what was going on. And just that, like, everybody just ignores it. Oh, it'll be fine. Oh, yeah, let him work in a toy store on Christmas. He'll be okay.
Right.
Genius.
Yeah, no. No, I can't necessarily say he's at fault. You know, he went through lots of shit and did not get the help he was supposed to get.
Right. And also, whoever did the window art on that toy store, wow. That is just, I think, the worst window art I think I've ever seen. There was just like a bunch of weird ass, like it looked like pagan symbols all over the front door. And then like the characters that they had painted on the side, like, wow. Just horrible.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
All right. So for this episode, we're doing number of recycled scenes, which we greatly hint to that about number 2 and a little bit number 3, just because, you know, this franchise becomes basket case-esque very quickly. Especially in Basket Case 2 that just kept doing the same scene and over and over again. That's why it's our Olives. For me, I said this isn't a horrible movie, and I know this is only going to go downhill from here. This isn't the worst thing I've seen. I will give this a solid 7 recycled scenes out of 10. How about you?
I won't go that high. Like I said, there's interesting things that it tries to do here, but overall, it's just a very kind of generic movie with just bad acting all around. So I would give it a 5.5.
5.5?
5.5 recycled scenes out of 10.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we'll have Salem kind of do a quick recap of essentially like 30 minutes of movie that exists for Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2.
Right. Yeah, I have very mixed feelings on this movie. We'll get so Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 opens up to where Ricky, Billy's little brother, is now like, I don't know what, 30. And
he's only supposed to be.
What? Is he supposed to be 18?
He is, because it's 4 years later and he was 14 in the first one.
Whatever. He's like 30.
I know.
It doesn't matter how old he is. It doesn't, like, whatever.
Yeah.
So he's now in a mental institution, and he's apparently, you know, this hard case in the mental institution that like no doctor can get through to, blah blah whatever.
Yeah.
So he basically recaps the entire first movie to his new psychiatrist.
Yes.
Which is, you know, it's kind of framed in like he's interviewing him and taping the whole thing and like an old timey reel-to-reel recording device. And I literally, I timed it 45 minutes.
Yep.
45 minutes of a 90-minute movie is spent on just recapping the original film. That's it.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing that he does is he, like, whenever the little brother Ricky said something, which I think he said like 3 whole things in the original one, he talks over it with his own voice. And then he has like a little scene of like, oh, and then next this happened, like literally like 2-second, like little transitions. But they have like scenes that are sometimes like 10, 15 minutes long. Yes. They just like keep going. They show scenes that have no relevance to even the first movie. Like, again, like the scene where he sees the 2 people like boning, right, in the orphanage. Yep. There's one callback scene that happens later in that movie that really doesn't affect anything. But again, they re-show that in the recap for some reason. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. It's there. They needed to fill time, I guess. Like, well, yeah, just make these longer. You know, our movie is only 40 minutes long. Just make the flashbacks longer. So yeah, we have 45 minutes of flashbacks. Okay. And then after 45 minutes, the movie actually starts. And then we get a few other scenes to where we see that Ricky got adopted.
Yep.
By the Rosenbergs. They didn't really come out and say it, but they said, "Oh, Christmas wasn't a problem with them." I'm guessing that means they were Jewish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're Jewish.
I'm pretty sure they didn't come out and say that though, which was odd. Whatever. But I'm pretty sure that's why they thought he's okay without Christmas. Okay, great. So like, I think it was a couple of years later, whatever. He like had a kind of flashback when he sees red. So now, like, not only is it just Santa or Christmassy stuff, no, it's red at all. When he sees red, then he like flashes. He has flashbacks of what happened, but then he also like turns into like the Punisher.
Yes,
for some reason, like a one line spouting Punisher. So, he basically recaps these events that happened to him. He says, yeah, as a child, then my stepdad died, and then my mom didn't care, blah blah. So then he gets a job to where he witnesses like a mob beating. And then the mob guy pulls out a red handkerchief to like wipe the sweat from his brow, and it triggers him. And then he murders the mob guy with an umbrella.
As you do.
Yeah. and then he's in the forest, like peeping on a couple that are like, trying to get it on in the woods, and the guy gets a little handsy and she's trying to push him away. And then he goes, oh, whatever, I'm going to go drink another Tecate by my car. Then he snaps because of the whole, like, assault thing. So he's like, again, telling the psychiatrist, I was there. I remember everything. Like, you were a baby. and you were a baby, and you were staring straight up at the ceiling of the car. You did not see anything.
Nor would you remember.
Right, nor would you remember. So I guess in this fictional universe, Billy kept retelling him the story so much that he can visualize it himself. I guess that's what we're going with. So, so he sees this assault. He's flashing back to the assault on his mother. So he waits till the guy gets in the car, steals his car, and then runs him over with it. Both ways. He runs him over and then reverses back over him again. And then the woman actually says, thank you. And like they part ways, and that's it. That's the whole bizarre scene. And so the psychiatrist at this point is like, oh, these are things you've never told anybody before. We got to make sure we get all this into our analysis. And he's like, okay, well, now the thing that you really want to know about is my girlfriend Jennifer. So then we get this bizarre story of him bumping into this girl, and then they like fall in love, and they bone, and like he makes a big point saying she was my first, and I thought I was her first. Like, who gives a shit, dude? Who fucking cares? You had fun, that's all that matters. But anyway, so basically she has another ex-boyfriend who's like trying to like insert himself in their relationship, and he gets upset. Obviously, and then the guy is like trying to sort of stalk her and like step in and like, I don't know, I guess talk down to him, whatever. So then he electrocutes him with the car charger, like in front of his house. She gets very upset, like, oh no, stop it. So he kills her too. He strangles her with a cord, and then he just goes on a rampage. A security guard comes up to him and tries to stop him. He steals the security guard's gun, kills the security guard, and then just starts walking around the neighborhood, just randomly shooting people, screaming "Garbage Day,
Garbage Day,
Garbage Day," and then he just shoots them. And then the cops finally stop him, and he puts the gun to his head, and pulls the trigger, and oh no, he's out of bullets. So that's how he got arrested, and that's how he got put in the asylum. And then he goes, did you get all that, doctor? And then we see, oh, he killed the doctor too. He strangled him with his own video or recording tape.
Yes.
I don't think it's possible.
I don't think it would, fragile. Very fragile.
Like it would snap when you're trying to do that. The cord, sure. Not the tape itself, but whatever. I guess they're trying to make it. So at this point, he escapes the asylum. And of course, he's going right for the person who escaped the first movie, the Mother Superior, who is now like in a wheelchair.
Yes.
And had a stroke, and for some reason that made her look like fucking Frankenstein. So I think they were just trying to like make her look evil or something. I don't really know what
I think
happened.
evil and more decrepit.
I guess so. I don't know. It's a very, very bad job.
Yes.
So anyway, so yeah, he goes there with an axe, and he essentially kills the Mother Superior. And then they like the one nun is like trying to oh no, he's gonna go kill her, and then of course he does. So the cops basically chase him into this house and then just shoot him. And then as he's like shot and appears to be dead. And then she finds Mother Superior in the other room, and then she goes, "Oh, are you okay?" And then her head falls off, like she was decapitated, but her head was put back on her head. And then she screams, and then that scream causes Ricky to open his eyes and smile. And then that's the end of the movie.
Yep.
Now, I'm just going to say it now. That's why the third one doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Because the third one, they specifically say that he got shot in the head, but he didn't.
Correct.
Because they even show him smiling at the end of the movie, meaning like his brain is still there. I don't. He might have died. He might have lived. Whatever. I mean, this is a horror movie. But like they specifically say that he was shot in the head, and that's like the whole plot of the third movie, and it didn't happen, which is bizarre.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Anyway, so this is obviously my first time seeing this movie. Now, essentially, the first 45 minutes is just an inexcusable flashback to the first movie. I mean, you can't even judge it on its own merit because it's not. It's just the old movie. That's it.
Yes.
It's like unforgivable. Like you said before, like, yeah, Basket Case did the same garbage.
Yep.
But at least it didn't like do it the whole movie. Like at least there was other movie in between. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, yeah, it might have been, I think it was like probably a total of like 30 minutes of the movie, but at least it was like kind of sort of spaced out, like in between, like things happened in between the flashbacks. This was like a solid 45-minute flashback with like him saying a couple of lines in between a scene break. That's it. That was the entire 45 minutes of the movie. Now, the second half of this movie does that rare thing where it's so bad that it actually turns around to good.
Yes.
Right? It is so ridiculous and so bad that it's actually hilarious.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things like, I had obviously forewarned you that this is a thing, but I don't think I could even try to explain it to do it justice, right? The half of it and then this part as well.
Right. So, I mean, like, overall, it's very hard to rate this movie because, again, the first half is inexcusable. There's no reason for that. And the second half, again, it's terrible. It's bad. But again, it's so bad that it's good in the unintentional way that makes it actually good. A lot of movies try to do this.
Yes.
They do this because, old movies did that and they were successful for the most part. So they try to do it nowadays, and now it's just bad. You can see right through what they're doing. No one's successful with this anymore. But yeah, it's very, very hard to rate.
I don't disagree. Like I said, if you ever wanted to mess with anyone doing trivia, you would like show a scene from this movie, but it being part one, and then you'll never have them guess part two, really,
right?
Because it's that blatant. It is like a shot for shot stuff. Like the only thing that they don't see is like Grandpa. And that's pretty much it.
Right? Yeah, they cut Grandpa out of it, and that was it. But every other major plot point that happens, including all of the kills, all of everything else, is thoughtfully detailed in the beginning of the second.
Yeah,
it's just bizarre. So again, it's very, very hard to rate. Anyway, so yeah, so that's my conflicting opinion on this. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, on the rewatch, this is knowing more about this, in the tail end here of 2023 versus probably when I watched this 20 something years ago. I have more knowledge now. There's more information to explain why they did this. And essentially, it was like someone wanted to, because this was so controversial, and it was a not rated as NR on the original script that it cut down to R. So I was like, hey, essentially, why don't you make this a family-friendly, I'm doing air quotes here that you can't see, version of the first movie. And then you just go, oh, wait, that's not enough movie. Let's do something else.
I would understand that, but like they had the nudity in it.
Yes.
They had the blood in it. So I mean, like, what part of this would cut it down? Like, what were they like? Yeah, what were they going?
The kill scenes weren't as extended. That's pretty much it.
Well, yeah, because they cut half of the movie.
All right. But like I said, this movie is notoriously bad for a lot of people. Like I said, number 5 is rated the worst one of these overall. But even on the rewatch, doing a back-to-back thing for these, you just kind of forget like how cheesy this movie is. Like if you want to see an unhinged person, then Ricky is definitely an unhinged person for this. And arguably doesn't have as much of a reason to be psychotic like his brother, because he, once again, was a baby and saw none of this.
Right. And again, like when they showed him in the orphanage in the first one, he was fine. He was a normal kid. He didn't have any issues.
Right. And they're saying
he was fine with Santa. There was nothing there.
Right. But they're saying because Billy told him all these things, then he eventually broke. So
I guess.
Like I said, it's these movies are hard watches to do a franchise of. So that's what I'm getting from these rewatches. Do you want to go on my highlights first?
Sure.
I mean, Garbage Day, right? That is so cheesy, so weird, and so out there that it works.
Right, but that's okay. Now, here's the funniest part, right? Like that's pretty much like the climax of the movie.
Yes.
There's nothing Christmas about it.
No, not at all.
There's no Santa suit. It doesn't even happen on Christmas. It's like in the middle of summer.
Yep.
I mean, it's just bizarre to me. This whole movie is so bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like it's Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. There's like barely any Christmassy stuff in it. Like again, whatever. I don't know what the guy was thinking this movie.
Right. The absurdness of the movie theater scene was great too. Like, hey, I'm gonna go kill this guy 2 rows back. He'll be looking at his friend, look over, look at his friend, so they look over, boom, Ricky, and he's dead.
Right. And he's dead. And the theater, they go to the theater to watch a movie, and the movie they're watching in the theater is the first movie.
Right.
They're watching the part of the Santa kill the mom and dad, but yet that doesn't trigger him somehow, even though this is literally his memory.
Yes. So it does, and I like it because it does leave some open-ended questions. Like, was that his break? Was he really not watching this and he's just reliving it in his head? Is it trying to be meta, or is he just an unreliable narrator following his point of view? Just like how we followed Billy, now we're following Ricky in a way to that. So I do like it for that. And let's face it, the Mother Superior, Franken Mother Superior, meeting her comeuppance because she would argue that she now has fucked up at least 2 kids that have killed multiple people now.
I mean, to be fair, that's what they taught you to do.
I know.
She was just doing what she was told to do.
I said, as you said, it that does that swing that's so bad it's good, like the Ricky part. I could do without the 45 minutes of the movie I just watched.
Well, yeah,
Like-
like you said, it's bizarre.
Yeah. Those are my highlights. What about you?
Yeah, when they were in the theater, there was a preview for Chaos the movie. That movie sounded awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to watch that movie. It was like Chaos the movie, the most violence, the most gunplay. It was like all this stuff. Like, this movie sounds great. Sounds better than the one I'm watching. But yeah, so I hope somebody makes Chaos the movie someday. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Also, the Garbage Day Rampage is ridiculous. It is.
Yes.
I mean, when he shoots the guy in the car, and the car somehow flips over around him, and then explodes
from the top,
inexplicably
from the top of the car. There's no gasoline.
Right, inexplicably explodes. I mean, I was laughing the whole time. It's like I said, it went full circle. It's so bad that it got good because it was hilarious.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's a great scene. It's very out of place in this movie.
Yes.
But a great scene. Again, that should have been the ending of the movie, but they tacked on the Mother Superior trash. All right, you want me to go into low points or?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so I mean, we have to get the whole 45 minutes of the first movie out of the way. I mean, literally, that's unforgivable. I mean, there's no way that you should ever do that. No sequel should ever take half of its runtime to explain to you what happened in the first movie, and if it does, just remake the fucking movie. I mean, that's inexcusable. That doesn't even make any sense. Again, Ricky's acting. So, Ricky's acting, right?
Yes.
So, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, there's just no way around that. It's like he tries to be like over the top, but yet he doesn't know how to deliver it. It's like he's trying to be over the top, but he's never taken an acting class or something. I don't know what it is, but it's just not correct. But again, in some scenes, it's so bad that it's hilarious, and that's like that Garbage Day Rampage is like it's hilarious the way that he talks, the way he says Garbage Day. It is funny. Like, I laughed a lot. So like, again, I mean, I don't think that was the desired effect.
No.
but it's hilarious, and that's great. But his acting is objectively just bad. Yeah, we talked about the movie in theater, just how bizarre and stupid that was, but whatever. But again, I don't understand how having a stroke would give you, like, she had like the Thing's face. It was like all these like bizarre orange rocks attached to her face from having a stroke. I don't like, how does that work? What is the? I don't know. I've never seen a stroke do that to a person. But apparently it did.
Yes.
All right. So what do you got?
I mean, obviously, once again, the elephant in the room that everyone is actually talking about is the 45 minutes. So when did They Live come out?
86, 85.
Okay, because to me, he was trying to. If They Live came out before this movie, I feel like he was channeling Roddy Piper.
88.
In the Garbage. 88.
So They Live came out actually a year after this movie did.
Oh, so then Roddy Piper wants this movie to get the Garbage Day, way of talking about this.
Right. So yeah,
sure. And Mother Superior, just like I said, I'd have to say this is unreliable narrative, because if it's not, then they really fucked up parts of this movie and don't understand how things work. Like, you can't have the meta that exists for them watching the movie and seeing this movie as a movie and have it not trigger him, but then also have it the same scene. Like, they showed the same scene twice. Once of his retelling of the detective, and the second of them watching the movie
right.
of it, which is weird.
Like, well, yeah, there's a whole lot of weirdness in this, especially because they've already recycled 45 minutes of movie.
Right.
Let's recycle another minute.
Right. So either it's a movie, or they're trying to like get meta and saying this is like the prequel to the Stab franchise from Scream, where they like do a shot for shot remake, but keep the same people in it. Right. It's not like it's not even a reenactment of the scene, which maybe they didn't tell the story of it. We know that serial killers get turned into movies, so maybe why would you go see a movie that is based on his life? Don't know. You know, yeah, and for it being a Christmas movie, it barely takes place in Christmas. What the last 10 minutes does, essentially.
Yeah, it's like I said, for being a Silent Night, Deadly Night. Again, you don't count the retelling of the first movie because that already happened. It's literally the same film. So yeah, the new things that happen in this movie, yes, there's barely any Christmas. It's only the very ending murder of Mother Superior that he's dressed as Santa. That's it.
Right. I timed how long it took for that tape to be completely used in the recording for the 13th psychiatrist. I think it was 14 minutes before he had to change the reels. That seems really, really, really short amount of time.
Well, I mean, we're seeing it happen in real time, but his descriptive language could be way longer.
Yeah. Yeah, like the car, it burst into the flames. Literally, if you look at it, the flames come out from under the hood, the roof of the car, and then go out from there. So the explosives were taped to the hood, or not the hood, but the top of the car underneath.
The roof. It's called the roof.
The roof. You know, it exploded from there. And I'm just like, what would have happened to that car for that fire to happen right there to the roof of the car?
Well, yeah, considering the car wasn't in that bad of a shape. It just rolled over.
Right.
I mean, like, yeah, it wasn't even caved in or nothing.
No.
I was like, I laughed out loud when it blew up. It was ridiculous.
And clearly someone doesn't understand how cars work and where pyrotechnics should be. Maybe they couldn't destroy the car. Maybe they only could singe the roof of the car.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, yeah, I mean, his acting is bad, but it just adds to the cheesiness that works well for it. So I will give that. And then, I understand that Ricky's supposed to be 18, as you pointed out earlier. Like, it was my first. I thought I was her first. And like that added to his snapping. I'm not necessarily think that would happen that way, but whatever.
Well, I mean, that's not even the reason why he snapped. It would just, again, I don't know why he said that. I mean, I guess just to prove he's an asshole, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
maybe
he was already there. I don't know why you need more of that, but.
And then his ability to recap stuff that he was not there for. That he said he knew the earlier stuff because Billy told him these things. He would have no knowledge of the exact scenarios that happened because Billy didn't tell him this stuff while he was busy getting shot down by the cops in the first movie. So how he would know all that stuff to recap stuff he definitely was not there for, that there's no way Billy would have told him if it happened. Or the cops would tell him this is what happened. No one knew exactly what happened, so he'd have none of that knowledge. So half of that 45 minutes could be cut out because there's no way Billy would know that information, or Ricky would know that information. It's just putting stuff in there to recap the movie and then saying that Ricky knew it, which feasibly not possible. Stuff that happened to his parents, sure, I could see him being told that. Billy seeing the people boning, absolutely he would have told his brother that. Everything else, no.
I mean, he might have just read police reports or seen it on the news. I mean, that would have been a big story.
Yeah. But that's what I got. So, how many recycled scenes out of 10 would you give this movie?
Like I said, this one, it's hard to do right? Because, I mean, based on the first half, I mean, it would be one of the lowest scores I've ever given out, right? It's just inexcusable. But the second half is so stupid that it's funny. So I don't. It's rough. It's a rough thing. Like, again, I don't even know if I like it better or worse than the first one. Like, it's honestly, it's up in the air. But ultimately, I'll say it's worse. So I'm gonna give it 5. 5 recycled scenes on the top.
I mean, yes, this is absolutely worse just because really a lot of it is that 45 minutes. You know, if it was a short film and we didn't have anything else, I think the scores would be higher, but that inexcusable laziness that exists drags it down. So I will give it 6 recycled scenes out of 10. So there is iconic stuff in this movie that, like I said, Garbage Day, everyone knows. Whether they know and seen the entire movie is completely the story, but they know that scene. So,
well, it's a short movie to watch because you just skip the first half. You just watch the first movie, then the second half of the second movie.
Yeah, this may be one of the worst rehashings of a movie I've ever seen like this.
Well, so far, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that the worst ones exist out there, but so far that we've seen in our reviews here, yes. Again, it would be second to Basket Case.
Yes,
the
and
Basket Case sequels.
At least The Exorcist Beginning and Dominion were 2 separate movies.
Right.
They could have reused 45 minutes of the film, but they didn't.
Probably should have.
Well, yes, they should have. For sure. So, yeah, that was like, you know, I know a lot of people give Evil Dead 2 shit for stuff because of the retelling, but it was not just the entire movie again.
No, it was like the first 10, 15 minutes, but it was redone. They didn't use the same footage. They redid it with different actors.
Yeah. But yeah, that's so, anyone that gives Evil Dead 2 crap for that was wrong. They need to look at this and go, okay, we are wrong. We apologize for.
Yeah, watch the difference.
Yes. All right. Well, then we have Silent Night, Dead of Night, Part 3, or Better Watch Out is the tagline. So why don't you take that away, Salem?
Yeah. So, okay.
There's not a lot to this movie.
No, I'm gonna go quick because I don't want to relive it. It came out in '89, which is 2 years after the last one.
Yes, but it takes place 6 years later.
Right. So, again, contrary to what we saw at the end of Part 2, in this universe, he got shot in the head. So Ricky then goes under some
heavy plastic surgery.
Yeah, experimental procedure where they rebuild the pieces of his brain that got blown out of his head from the gunshot.
That didn't happen.
And then they put him in this little aquarium hat where you can see his brain through the top of the clear glass that is now his skull.
Mm-hmm.
But he was still in a coma, but he was alive. He was still in a coma. So they brought back his bodily functions, like breathing and stuff. But they think that they brought back his memories and stuff, but they don't know. So how do they find out? They hire a psychic, a blind psychic girl to come in and I guess go into a psychic trance and try to see if she can invade his dreams. But somehow she doesn't know that's what she's doing, even though she's a psychic.
Clearly, so Exorcist 2 was an influence for this.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, he's somehow getting her to psychically invade his mind without her knowing. Which, I was so confused. What are you talking about? So anyway, so she goes into his mind, and what does she see? Recycled scenes from the first movie. The same fucking scenes as the other 2 movies. This is exactly what we're seeing again. So she's like, and he's like, oh, what did you see? What did you see? She's like, it was an evil Santa Claus. He's like, what else? That's it. That's all I got. Oh, that sucks. but I'm pretty sure we made a breakthrough. By the way, it's Christmas Eve. I'm in the hospital doing psychic dream work on Christmas Eve. So I need to go because me and my brother are going out to the middle of nowhere to visit our granny on Christmas Eve. So bye, Doc. See you later.
Who also may or may not be psychic.
Right. So she gets picked up by her brother after she has a psychic vision of the receptionist getting killed.
Right.
So brother, wow. I mean, the brother.
Let's just call him the walking carpet.
Yeah, I mean, it's like imagine like Winger from like 1989, and that's what he looked like. I mean, it was wow.
Yes.
So he and his sassy girlfriend drive the psychic girl to Granny's house. So they're driving for a while. So while they're driving, Ricky wakes up from his coma when a drunk Santa comes into his room to talk to him.
Talk shit to him.
Right, while he's like trying to sneak a drink in between visiting children. So that's enough to like, snap him and wake him up. And so he murders the Santa. And surprisingly does not put on the Santa suit. Which I was very surprised by that. I was like, oh, here's an excuse for him to put on the Santa suit. Nope. So he then escapes the hospital. He kills the Santa. He kills the receptionist lady. So Psychic Girl was right about that. And then he slowly makes his way to Granny's house because he's psychically reading Laura, the Psychic Girl's brain. So he gets the directions because they keep saying them out loud. So he gets the directions from them, and then he somehow gets there.
Lorla.
Right, yeah. So murders a couple people on the way, like a gas station attendant and random people, whatever. So he somehow gets to Granny's house before they do. I don't not explain how or why he did, but he did that. So he got to Granny's house before they did. Granny, being nice Granny, invites him in and gives him food. And then do we actually see what happens?
Well, she hands him, I think hey, Ricky, there's a present here from Santa. And then cut to black.
Right, but we don't actually see what happens, right?
No.
Okay,
no.
That's what I thought. I was like, did I miss something? Like, I rewound it a couple of times, like, what happened?
She used the trigger word Santa.
Yeah.
And actually had a present for him.
Right. So, So basically cut to Laura, her rock and roll brother, and his girlfriend getting to Granny's house. Granny is not there. But neither is Ricky. And like there's like food boiling on the stove, like everything is obviously set up to invite them in, right?
Yes.
But Granny is nowhere to be found, and they are just not bothered by this at all.
No.
The girlfriend decides that she's going to go take a bath in Granny's house that she's never met.
Mm-hmm.
The minute that she gets there, like, you took a shower before you got in the car? You just drove out to this place, and now you need to take a fucking bath in a stranger's house?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then, of course, the brother gets in the bath with her. And then the blind girl is now getting more and more upset because she's like, I don't get it. Why is Granny not here? So she finally convinces the brother to go looking for Granny. And he goes looking on like these other houses on their property and the people down the street, whatever. Like, of course she's not there. This is really strange. You think maybe we should go into town? And he's like, just give us another 15 minutes. I'm going to go eat some food. I'm hungry. Okay. So then they're all like, okay, we should go. We'll all go. So the girlfriend stands right by the front door to where Ricky sticks his hands through the door and grabs the girlfriend. Right.
Yes.
The boyfriend goes, that sucks, and immediately runs away. I laughed when it happened. I was like, he just ran away. But he went to get a knife, and he came back, and he stabbed Ricky in the arm, which barely, like, stopped him. So they get the girl out. Ricky pulls the knife out of his arm, pulls his arms back out of the door, and then they just stand around.
Yep.
They're like, yeah, I guess, yeah, we should really do something. What should we do? Should we call the police? Oh, the phone's dead. Oh, can you go upstairs and look for, like, they're literally standing, like, the blind girl and the girl that just got attacked are standing in front of the door with big armholes in it, waiting for the brother to, like, finish what he's doing upstairs. It's so bizarre. Anyway, so he finds this, like, old-timey shotgun, and they decide to go out and, like, oh, yeah, we're going to get out of here. So they go outside. Ricky comes out, knocks the gun out of the brother's hand, knocks the brother down, seemingly dead.
Yeah, stabs him.
Yeah, so, yeah, the girls run back into the house. They're, running around the house. He's chasing him around the house. He ends up killing the girlfriend. And then chasing her around the house. She ends up in the basement, and then the brother comes back, like, to life.
Yes.
And he comes down with the shotgun and shoots him. But that has no effect. So he gets up and kills the brother, and then she ends up killing him with a broken broom hand. There's, like, kind of a little subplot of, like, the cop guy and the doctor trying to get there. I purposely left it out because once they get there, they just die. Well, I should say the doctor leaves the cop on the side of the road because he's afraid he's going to kill him. And he's like, oh, this is my experiment. Don't kill him.
Yes.
So he leaves him there. So the doctor gets there, gets killed immediately. And then by the time the cop gets there, it's all over.
Yep.
So that's why I just left it out. Doesn't make any difference. But yeah. So yeah, he gets killed, and then, like, the very end of the movie is, like, they bring him out on a stretcher going, like, oh, if we get this guy on life support, I think he'll make it. I guess trying to set up for a sequel. And then, the girl's like, he's like, oh, I hope you have a nice Christmas. And she's like, oh, I don't think I will, or whatever the hell she said. And then that's it. That's the end.
Well, and then Ricky comes back, and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, which is, like, in a suit, in a tuxedo.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's it. Now, this movie is bizarre. Now, I could tell you that Bill Moseley's in this movie, and that might make you go, oh, I like Bill Moseley. He's cool. The bad part of that is Bill Moseley is a good villain because he says cool and interesting things. The way that he talks, the way that he acts is very interesting, right? So they basically removed all of those things. Yep. So he's just like an automaton that can't talk and can't move correctly. He's basically like Frankenstein.
Yes.
So why you would have Bill Moseley play that role is beyond me. I mean, that makes no sense at all.
Yes. He says Laura, and then he says, and a Happy New Year. Those are his lines.
Right. That's it. So, like, Bill Moseley could have done a great job if you let him be Bill Moseley, but instead they made him be this automaton thing that's, like, criminally underuse of Bill Moseley. But yeah, that's it. That's there's nothing else. There's nothing else. This movie is a slog to get through. Yep. I was literally doing other things while I was watching it because I could not just focus on this movie. It sucks.
Yes.
It's not good.
Yes.
So,
that was your first thought?
Yeah.
My rewatching is, essentially, if you like psychics, you like Frankenstein, and you like maybe Silent Night, Deadly Night, boy, we have something for you because it combines all three.
Barely. Yeah, again, it's like there's barely any Christmas. Like, it happens on Christmas, but he's not even wearing a Christmas suit. Yes. Or a Santa suit. Like, he had the opportunity to put on a Santa suit, and he turned it down.
Yes. And if you want to see a living shag carpet,
right,
boy, we have the movie just for you.
Right.
Oh, man. You want me to start with my highlights? Do you want to go first?
I go first. I don't have very many.
Okay.
One, I liked his little brain hat. I thought that was goofy. Like,
Yeah.
Literally like looked like a gummy brain in like a
Mhm.
little like jar. That was pretty funny. And I thought the cop's car phone was funny because he was talking about it being like the peak of technology, and it was a car phone.
Yes.
And that's it. That's all I got.
I will ride on that car phone because he's like, "Are you some sort of salesman?" Well, if I get new subscribers, I get $100 off a month. I'm like, well, how much is this
like,
thing?
how
You're
much
a
are you
cop.
paying?
You're a cop in the 80s. You're not making that kind of money. Let's see here. That's the conversation was interesting with the pseudoscience that they brought into it. That's about it. I'll roll into my low points. You want to waste Bill Moseley. This is how you waste Bill Moseley.
Right.
This is exactly how you do it.
I was just like dumbfounded. I'm like, this is just criminal. Like, this is, what are you doing? Like, this is Bill Moseley is known for, again, saying like weird, creepy shit.
Yep.
And like just being a weird kind of off dude. That's what he's great at. He plays that great character. That's what all his iconic roles have been that. And now you put him in a fucking Frankenstein role where he can't even move like himself. Like, what the hell are you thinking?
You want to take Chop Top and then make him shit. There you go.
Yeah, like take Chop Top, like put him in blander clothes, don't let him talk, and don't let him move.
Yes.
Great plan.
Psychics, pseudoscience. Atrocious. And I'm no doctor by any stretch of imagination, but I'm pretty sure when you piece together the gunshot that wasn't there and repiece the brain together, that all of a sudden he doesn't look and turn into Bill Moseley.
Who had a big scar on his face for no reason.
Right. Also, yes, while you're able to see the brain in his brain aquarium, I'm pretty sure your brain's surrounded completely by fluid, not just an inch.
Well, I'm pretty sure they couldn't fill it all the way up. It would be too heavy on his head, I'm guessing.
And the way he moved with that in the scenes that we do get him is like he's unable to move his head properly to kind of like keep it on.
Right. I'm guessing they probably had it filled with liquid before, and he was like his head was flopping around.
Right. So like I said, like I said, he had like be carefully turning his head as he was walking. Like he couldn't move his neck up in fear that this shitty contraption was going to fall off his head and break. Obviously the doctor and talking about this whole pseudoscience stuff, you know, the cellular telephone in the car. I can't do two important functions at the same time. The cheesy dialogue, the fourth wall break of Ricky, you know, was just awful. It made no sense. You know, maybe the grandma was psychic because she seemed to knew the phone was going to ring, as she told to no one when we was introduced to her. Right. So maybe it's there. And I don't know if this was purposely funny or not. Like when our protagonist went into the basement and she perfectly hit the light bulb while being blind to break it, to go, now we're even, and you can still see all the light flooding into the basement and see her perfectly fine. I don't know if she, obviously because she's blind, she can't see how light is in there. But when the cop shone his flashlight into her face at the end of the movie, you can see her perfectly in the light that's coming through the basement stairwell. Like there was no pitch blackness at all in this movie. And you know, it's like, oh, I have this sharp stick, and oh wait, he's impaled and dead. Like we don't see it, we just see the aftermath of it as he's impaled. And I'm reading the description, like it's alluding to that Ricky is still alive, and therefore he gave her a vision saying Happy New Year to her. Sure. Oh, and finally, I'm sorry. I don't know if anyone has a bathtub big enough for two people. That was not a bathtub big enough for two people. That is uncomfortable as hell. It's not fun. And then just taking a random ass bath. in someone's house that you don't know.
Well, yeah, like I said, you go to a stranger's house. I'm sorry, can I borrow your bath?
Right.
What? Like, what if you only have one bathroom?
Right.
Now we have 5 people waiting for you to have a fucking bath so we can take a leak. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. No. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is the same. Like, I mean, the psychic powers. I mean, like there wasn't even like wires connecting them together or anything. There was nothing there that would, again. And how do you fool a psychic into doing stuff without knowing they're doing it? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, like her believability of being blind was like fucking zero. Like her eyes were still like following things.
Yes.
Like she wasn't even trying to pretend like she's blind. It was, I mean, just ridiculous. Like again, like how, if she goes into a vision in her head, how does she know what color her clothes are?
Right.
I mean, she wouldn't know these things. Like she's fucking blind. Yeah, she can see in the dream. That's fine, but she wouldn't know what color the clothes were that she was wearing. That doesn't,
Correct.
you know, she had intricate patterns on her clothes that were perfectly matched in her dream. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, yeah, the whole brain rebuild thing was just so stupid. I don't even know why they would put that on poor Bill Moseley. I don't know why he agreed to it. But yeah, again, just talking about, I mean, literally, you limited Bill Moseley. I mean, you took away all his strengths and just made him like a puppet. I mean, that was it. I mean, there's no Santa suit in this movie. I mean, at least Ricky put one on at the end of the last movie. Like this one, we don't even get one at all, aside from the drunk Santa that gets killed, and that's it.
Right.
There is the scene where the doctor and the cop are talking in the car.
Yeah.
They don't even have a fucking steady cam. The camera was bouncing with the fucking car constantly. It was so annoying. I'm like, wow, how cheap did they film this fucking movie? That they can't even like edit out the bumps or like just film it in a car sitting still so it doesn't fucking bump all over the place, you fucking idiots. Like,
well, I mean, we don't see the outside, so it didn't matter. Yeah, we didn't see anything outside the car anyway.
It's like they're driving at night. Just fucking film it in a standing still car. What the hell are you thinking? Yeah, it's bouncing all over the place. It was like so distracting.
Yeah.
No, okay. Now there's a scene. Yeah, you may be fucking blind, but she knew her brother was in the fucking room, and she changed in front of her brother. She's an adult. Brother's an adult. Like, why would you be changing your clothes, stripping down in front of your fucking brother? That's weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, yeah, they literally get attacked through the fucking door, and they were just standing there. Like, oh yeah, brother, go ahead and go upstairs and look for the shotgun for 30 minutes while we stand here and wait for this guy to come back and murder us. The other thing is, like, what the fuck was with that Memorex quote?
Is it live or is it memory?
Right. He comes downstairs. The brother comes downstairs with the shotgun, screams a random fucking company slogan, and then shoots him, which does nothing, and then he dies immediately. But, like, what? What the fuck does Memorex have to do with anything? What are you talking about? So I don't know if Memorex paid them to put them in the movie or something. I don't know what the fuck happened there. But it was like having a one-liner. It's like, how you like them people?
Yes, I was about to say that.
But at least that, like, at least that you can put logic together, being like, okay, you're trying to connect to a song that wasn't even in this movie, but at least you know what they were trying to do. This one, no fucking clue. I don't know what Memorex is, like, what you're talking about, where it came from. No clue.
Right.
There was no tapes or recording of any kind in this movie. Like, nothing. Like, I don't get it. I was
he
like,
could have just ran down the stairs. You can have it your way.
Right. It's like, what the fuck? Like, just shout some random company slogan. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I gave up after that. I was like, I'm done.
Uh-huh.
But I said, yeah, this was me half paying attention. And I had this way. I can only imagine if I was actually focusing on the movie.
Oh, this movie was so hard to focus on. Like, my interest just, like, nosedived tremendously by this one. Like, god damn. I mean, no surprise, this was not in theaters.
What a
You
shock.
know, I know. This is, you would call it in the video nasty era, but it's nasty because it's that bad. It's not nasty because it's gross. It's a horrible, horrible movie. And we have 3 more of these.
Yeah, I
They
know.
get worse.
I know. Again, I
And
saw
they-
Clint Howard. I was like,
Yeah.
'cause I don't think there's any good movies with Clint Howard in them.
I mean, he's all his brother stuff.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, like, as not a cameo.
Oh, as a star,
like an
yes.
actual character in the film. If it's Clint Howard, it's a bad movie.
And there's Bugs. So it's going to have Bugs and Clint Howard. So you're going to be overjoyed for the next one.
Yay.
So number of recycled scenes out of 10, knowing I know this goes down. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go down to 3 for this one. 3 recycled scenes out of 10. How about you?
I mean, there's nothing redeemable in this movie. There's nothing even like halfway fun. I mean, in this movie, it's just a bad movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I've given better movies worse scores. I'm at 1.5.
1.5?
1.5 recycled scenes out of 10.
Yeah. We may go back and nullify our scores when we watch the next 3. I'm just saying, just because our 0 level is being close to hit.
That's okay. I mean, what other franchises we go through where we're like, I was under 1? like a lot of films were under 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd
sure.
be the Exorcist one.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get there.
Yeah. Trust me, we will get there. We have the Bug one, then the worst one, and then I don't remember the remake. It's that bad to me. Could be good. I don't know. I don't remember. So yeah. Anything else to add for this episode?
Nope.
All right. Well, join us next time as we drink even more heavily, don our Santa suits for another round of punishment with the next 3 Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, and hope that Krampus will come and save us from this torture. Because, yeah, there's reasons why we didn't do this the first time around. We had to get to it eventually. But remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to. And please do not watch 2 and 3 if this one.
2 is okay. Just skip the first half.
Yes.
So watch the first movie, then the second half of 2, and don't watch 3.
Stop the franchise.
Yeah.
And this has been Graveyard saying, have you checked on the children?
This is Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.
Good night.